Alright, I'm going to start my tour here, or playthrough, if that's the word, of Endless Sky, with a mature character. This is this one. So that's the planet menu. And much of what you see here is what you would see in Escape Velocity or Nave. As I've said previously, there's no bar, which I'm sort of missing. So if you get missions from non-playable characters, it's either here in the main menu or in the spaceport, because they make a distinction. So, sorry, I'm busy with something else right now, too. Sorry, I'm busy with something else right now. Done. Now, I wanted to show you this, but first we'll look at these other things, because these other things require less explanation. The bank. This is a new feature. This doesn't exist in Escape Velocity. It doesn't exist in Nave. So you see your crew salaries there, because salaries are actually simulated in this, whereas they're not in Escape Velocity. And this matters because when you add ships to your fleet, you either capture them or you purchase them. And when you purchase the ships, you don't have to pay any rent on them. You do have to pay the crew salaries, though, so how many crew you have in total matters for your bottom line. Just like the rents would. But of course, the number of crew you have depends on how many ships you have and what kinds of ships they are, because just like Escape Velocity, the crews vary a lot. And for this reason, the only reason to hire more crew is for the purpose of boarding other ships and capturing them. So in that way, it's another form of hot rodding your ships. But the purpose of the bank is not simply to help you with your accounts, because you can also do that over at the higher crew there. The main thing is that you can apply for loans for capital investment. And how much you qualify for depends on your actual cash on hand, which is up here. So here it says you qualify for a new loan of up to 46.014 million credits. I'm not going to take that, but you actually start the game having to pay off a loan, somewhat like real life, because the bank capitalizes your shipping career, essentially. Now, the job board is the same thing as a mission computer. We'll take a look at that. And they integrated the map and the missions. And the variety of missions is very nice. Very, very nice. You don't get this variety in Escape Velocity unless you have a lot of plugins for them. It includes tourism, it includes large groups of passengers, small groups of passengers, large freight shipments, small freight shipments. And if we look down here at the capacity of the fleet, there's quite a lot of capacity in this fleet because it's large. I deliberately chose a mature character. So I have in my fleet 11,605 tons of cargo space and 404 bunks, because the passenger space is distinct from the cargo space, which is another very realistic feature of Endless Sky compared to Escape Velocity and Nave. Another thing it's worth noting, I mentioned how different ships have different abilities, same as Escape Velocity and Nave. The shipyards and so on will not all have the same products. And just like in Escape Velocity, not all systems have them. I'll get back to that in a bit, because actually this is not the best place to show that. Instead, we'll click Done. Here's the commodities exchange. That's not really very much different from Escape Velocity. I have some extra medical goods here I should sell. Most likely plundered from a pirate ship. That's also a handy way to get escorts, of course, just like in the original Escape Velocity. I suppose now is the time to look at the fleet. So here are smaller icons of the fleet. So I have some haulers, which kind of look obscene, but these are actually cargo ships. I have an argosy, just like an escape velocity. I have something that's called a mule, which is a basically heavily fortified cargo ship like the argosy. I have 20 bulk freighters, which look a little bit like the Leviathans from Escape Velocity Nova, but they are somewhat different. I have a behemoth, which is another heavy freighter. It's another class of heavy freighter with slightly better weapons. It's my own ship. And this is a second one, actually. These are only the escorts. Then this is a warship and another warship. So we're going to take a look at those in more detail now. If you want to check out your fleet to figure out how much cargo and passenger capacity you have and so on, you can easily use the P key to bring up your player info. It's something they don't adequately explain on the website. So that's the same as in Escape Velocity, except you have a fleet in this game. In Endless Sky, you go from the player into the ship info here. This net worth is also kind of cool because it's a combination of all your ships and their outfits. And of course, you can put outfits on your escorts, which is a big difference from Escape Velocity. We'll go to the ship info. This is my flagship. As I said before, it's a behemoth heavy freighter. And that explains which weapons and slots I have on it. And most important for commercial purposes, I have 30 monks, 16 of which are used by my crew. I have 210 tons of cargo space. And my fuel is 1,400. But an ordinary hyperdrive jump consumes 100 fuel, yet I don't remember if the engines I have, the atomic engines, actually are very efficient. I've forgotten, actually. Different engines actually consume different levels of fuel. So this says an ordinary hyperdrive jump consumes 100 fuel. That's deceptive. I would say find out, because that's usually not true on a interesting ship anyway. The maximum speed, acceleration, and turning are not just about the original specs of the ship. They are here. Actually, those are determined by your mods as much as anything, because the engines you have in your ship aren't necessarily original. You will have a different engine for steering, for thrust vectoring. And then you also will have various levels of cooling and so on, and afterburners, things that your ship can tolerate or not. I have in this one a breeder reactor, which is the hottest power source I can put on board. Electricity and motive power are distinct from each other in Endless Sky. So your nuclear reactor or fuel cell or whichever electrical power source you have on the ship is necessary for the ship. You must have it in order to fly, but it has nothing to do with your engines. Your engines are entirely separate. Another important detail. Here's the outfit space, or free mass, as you would call it in Escape Velocity, but you have a limited weapon capacity and a limited engine capacity within that. So, this is how much weapon capacity I have left, this is how much engine capacity I have left, and that's the total for each. Also, you have gun ports free or turret mounts free, depending, and these are distinct from each other, and they're just like in Escape Velocity, except for that in Endless Sky, a missile launcher counts as a gun. So if you're designing a custom ship, that's something to keep in mind. When I port the Alpaca to Endless Sky, if I ever do, I'm going to add gun ports to accommodate missile launchers, if the user wants to mod it with that.